Okay.
this is sort of like technology night, and one of my favorite subjects.
Okay,
So,
no problem.
but I thought it'd be good for the viewers, since many of them probably may be new, because we've gotten a lot of new subscribers to the newsletter and so forth. I thought it'd be good to go over this. Maybe occasionally we should talk about some of these things, since new people are coming all the time. But I'd kind of like to just go down a list of some of the technologies the ministry has been involved with over the years, and we'll just say just a couple of words about each one to sort of show people it really does mean world improvement. In other words,
Absolutely.
the ministry really is about world improvement.
Amen.
So, and here's some I wrote down. So maybe you could just speak just a sentence or two about each one as I go through here. First of all, I'll just bring up automobiles that run on water or air.
Yeah, absolutely. This is totally doable. The technology exists. There's a famous Joe in Australia. Nobody seems, well, somebody knows his last name, but I don't know his last name right off the top of my head. But Joe from Australia demonstrates his automobile running on energy and very little water. Yeah, this is totally doable. It's another guy that demonstrated this, got himself in trouble, as Wilhelm Reich demonstrated a car running on air or quantum energy, however you want to say it. The air itself, what happens, the engine itself becomes polarized, so when the air goes in, air explodes because it's in a different electrical state than the engine. It's in an environment that's totally foreign, and so the air easily explodes is what happens on those type of systems. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
well that's good enough
Go
for
ahead.
that. So so that's amazing stuff. Now then, I know one of the things that most people are very interested in is like home power units, home generating systems for electrical power, since our lives are so geared around electrical power. Now the ministry has done many, like the end machine there that we saw is one type of a generator, but I've been to one of your labs and I've seen some amazing things, and I am most impressed by the you would refer to them, I believe, as stage 3 quantum devices. And
yeah,
these typically have none or very few moving parts and rely on fields and flows of quantum energy to produce electric power, and can be made very small and produce lots and lots of power. Maybe just say a couple words about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I go to that, let me say about the cars. We've done a bunch of these cars over the years, and literally the ministry has been involved in just about every technology that's ever come out that's any good. The only thing we won't work on is weapons, but as far as motors and generators, everything that's out there, we developed, mostly under Nikola Tesla and Nathan Stubblefield. All the motor, all the 60 cycle polyphase, 3-phase, whatever systems that are out there, 50 cycle systems, they're all the Tesla type stuff that we've developed and given away over the years, including cell phones and all that. Now back to your the quantum energy systems. Yes, we'd love to get these into mass production. That's what this current fundraiser is mainly focused on, and that's the home power systems. It'll be quantum energy systems, and these, once they're in mass production, they'll be cheaper or as affordable as gasoline systems, which are available now, except you won't need gasoline as far as dollars in versus watts out. And mass production really brings the cost down. That's what most people don't realize. And so these things you'll be able to mount it next to your fuse box and disconnect the power grid and pull your meter, whatever you want to do. Mount it to your fuse box, hook into your main breaker there, and you run your whole house. And you can produce 60 cycles. You can produce whatever you want with these. It just depends on what country you want to sell them in, what the standard area is in that country.
Right, and I want to tell people maybe they can look up. There's a demonstration in one of the videos on YouTube, and I think maybe on the website, that shows a small sphere, or it's a hemisphere, as a half of a sphere, and it's actually creating electrical power. And I don't believe there's any moving parts in that device there. It's strictly the way it's built, and the quantum energy fields and flows are imprinted or working on that machine. And it's mind-boggling the way it works, because here it is. I know you show it powering a small electric motor. You show it lighting light bulbs, and it's not a generator like we're used to thinking with magnetic fields and so forth like that. and it's just awesome. When I first saw that, I was just blown away by it. So I'm real keen on that type of stuff.
Also show it starting up a Jeep, which requires about 200 amps minimum and 12 volts, and that's totally legit. Anybody that hasn't seen that, you might want to watch that. And then that same Jeep on another video would run on water. You were asking about water and energy for fuel, or air for fuel, and all this is totally doable. There's videos on the website. Just go to the $1 Million Education for Free page. And there should be about 30 videos there that you can watch, and they're excellent. They're all very educational to help people realize what the reality is. And most people have been lied to, and I was lied to when I went to college and school, even as early as second or third grade. I asked the teachers if gravity motors were possible, motors that ran on basic forces of the universe. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. Forget about it. Forget about it. So don't get mad because you're lied to. Just get busy and get involved with the solution and make it back that way. Make it happen for everybody.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Only need 300 regular tithers, $200 a month to make this factory a reality for everybody. That's not that many people. We have over that many listeners every week, so. Live is only about 40 or so, but on the archives we've had as many 50,000 views on one or two, or some of the shows. So this is totally doable.
Okay, well let's just go down. I'm going to try to go through real quick here. Skywell, awesome.
Awesome technology. Produces water right out of the air and right out of space. I haven't tested them in space, but I believe they'd work even in space. Might have to change it a little bit. The quantum energy itself produces hydrogen and oxygen quite abundantly, and that hydrogen and oxygen can be combined into water with a little bit of right type of electrical charge on the particles. And
right.
They want to combine. They want to combine anyway. If you make them and get them in the vicinity of each other real quick, they will combine on their own into water.
And some of the prototypes you guys have built have produced thousands of gallons of water per hour, as I understand it.
Absolutely.
So that's how you make the deserts green.
That's right. Amen.
So okay, Skybike.
Skybike, excellent technology. Everybody should have one. They need to get into mass production. We need people with money to get behind it. Similar to the unipolar generator, we need people with funds that really want to get behind it. If you've got the funds, send us a copy of your financial statement, and we'll work out a deal where you can start mass producing these things. So the Skybike is a device you can ride. It can be made into a car. It flies without the need for propellers or wind or anything. The drive unit is totally self-contained. It's not open to the air. It does have a spinning device in there, and that's the primitive version. There's solid state ways to produce light as well, but the primitive version uses vibrations basically, and you can loosen gravity quite a bit and produce unidirectional thrust with one particular device that we developed, and that's the Skybike. So literally, you can have a bicycle that you can pedal and fly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You control it by the way you lean. If you can make it where you lean back and you go forward, or you can make it where you lean forward and you go forward. It can be made either way. You control it by the way you lean. Basically, similar to a surfboard, the way you lean, you're controlling it, or a skateboard.
Right. So it's a whole nother dimension.
Yep. Okay,
atmospheric scrubbers.
This technology has been developed and demonstrated a number of times, and so as all the technologies have been. Basically, if the air is polluted in a certain city, it can be cleaned up. You can take in, and these could be made even self-contained, where they're little flying machines that go around and constantly filter the air. And they can all be communicating to each other by computer and so on by the airwaves, and they can work on one city and then go to another city, and they can go wherever it needs it. They can be constantly self-contained, and they typically the pollution is carbon or some type of carbon base that can be made into solid material and dropped as dust on the land, and that's fertilizer. Or it can be made into carbon blocks and delivered to a factory, and those can be recycled into whatever you want to make. Carbon's worth money when it's in solid form. It's a real solid form. It's called diamond. So obviously it's worth money.
All right.
That can be made. These things could be made, literally be making diamonds. You get out of the pollution in the air.
That's awesome. Ocean desalination.
Totally doable. We demonstrated it and done it even on large scales. We did a big demo, and we have a video on that. I don't think it's up on the website, but we'll have to put that up one of these days. We did it for 2 different places in Mexico. We did it for the King of Dubai, and all of them loved it. We took ocean water and we grew corn, and the salt content, the salt would be transmuted into potassium and potash. And basically both of those are good for the soil, and so basically you can turn salt into fertilizer.
Right.
Do it right using quantum energy.
Right, and these aren't gigantic, huge evaporative machines. These are actually, you pump water as fast as you can through them, and you desalinate them.
That's about right. That's about right. It's not much, and they're usually you can lift one with one hand, but the pipe itself might be 2 or 3 inches in diameter and a quarter mile long or something. That you're not going to lift that with one hand, but it can be a plastic pipe, but once it's full of water, it's going to weigh quite a bit. But yeah, as fast as you can pump, basically, water can be desalinated, and that can be filtered and drinkable even. Filter out the potash. People shouldn't drink too much potash, but potash is a fertilizer. It's good for the soil.
Okay, propulsion systems and anti-gravity.
Totally doable. All kinds of propulsion systems. We talk about the one for the Skybike. There's many ways to do propulsion systems. The Egyptians had a little device when they built the Great Pyramid. Probably Enoch was the one. He had a little device about this big. He'd stick on a block of stone as big as you could imagine, and tune it a little bit, and the whole thing would become weightless. That technology is doable. We can't make it into a device this small yet, but if we get the funding, I'm sure we could. That technology is totally doable. You could build pyramids, you could build out of stone, etc. Stone is a very good building material if it's easy to move. Right now, the standard technology out there is very primitive. They don't know how to move big stones.
Right, and that sort of follows along with the stories you hear about John Keeley moving big, heavy objects, machine tools, and things like this in his shop.
Lathes that weighed tons. Yeah, pick them up with one finger.
Yep.
Absolutely doable. Absolutely doable.
Okay, then growing centers to grow food.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of ways to improve your food growth. Literally the hundreds and thousands of different ways, but the simplest one we discussed on the Advanced Technology Teaching Archives. It's basically just simple black plastic on the ground. You can triple or quadruple your production with just something that simple. And then, of course, authority and the power of God, getting the rain when you need it, stuff like that. We have that authority. But there's also quantum energy technologies. We've literally grown radishes from seed to full grown in 3 days already, and normally takes 30 days. So that's 1/10 the time, basically. 10 times faster, I was going to say, but 1/10 the time. And everything can be done that way. Everybody can have their own little garden, and they can go out and pick their own food whenever they want it. Every single meal can be totally fresh, and you don't need a refrigerator. You don't need, you just got your own little growing room, and you can put a lot in one room too.
And you don't need Monsanto to be poisoning the food with all this GMO stuff.
That's right. That's right. Everything's healthy for a change. Nothing
Yep.
moldy, nothing full of preservatives, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, waste. Now you've told me about the waste disintegration, I guess you might say it.
Yeah, there's different technologies for waste disposal or dealing with waste, and one of the simplest ones that everybody should have is a device about the size of a trash can. The metal trash cans of old, now they're making them out of plastic. These would be metal, and they'd be a little heavier than a trash can, probably 3 times as heavy when it's empty, or 4 times as heavy, or 5 times as heavy as a metal trash can. But the advantage is, whatever you throw in there, you close the lid and hit the button, and open it up 20 minutes later, and it's just a little film of diamond dust is all it is, a little black film. It's carbon dust, and that's all. You could use it for a year, and you might get 4 or 5 teaspoons of dust out of it. Unless you're burning rocks. If you're burning up rocks, then you're going to get more. Obviously, you're going to get a few gallons of black dust. But it basically disintegrates anything and turns it back into quantum. Most of it goes back into the quantum energy, and you wind up with a little byproduct of diamond dust or carbon dust.
That's amazing. I wonder if you could take your common toilet and remodify that thing to do the same type of thing. Wouldn't need all the plumbing and stuff.
Absolutely, it'll burn water. We've done it. We've tested it with water. Yeah, absolutely. You can flush your toilet right into one of these, and automatically comes on whenever there's a gallon in there, or 2 gallons, or whatever you want, and it can literally burn it all, and there'll be nothing there. So you don't need the septic tank. You don't need all the plumbing pipes, and it burns self-contained. It does not use air out of the air. It doesn't use oxygen. It makes its own oxygen, hydrogen, everything it needs to burn, and so there's no fumes. There's no pollution. There's no so it's totally clean.
That's remarkable. Now then, radioactive remediation, radioactivity.
Totally doable. Another technology that needs to be mass produced and mass used. The government controls radioactivity, radioactive materials, and radioactive waste, and their intent, of course, is no good. And so the people need to get back in charge of the government, so we can start remediating these things, cleaning them up, get rid of them, turn them back into dirt, what God intended.
Right, because I can see, they've got huge underground caverns of waste products, and they've also got just soils and from the wars and everything like that, with the depleted uranium and everything like that. That's terrible stuff. Okay, the last one I have on here is transmutation, which is somewhat related to a couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take, and Maury used to demonstrate this. Again, this is another thing he first learned from the ministry, and then he perfected it on his own quite a bit. You could bring him 99.999% just about anything, and right from the chemical store, 5/9, and he could put it through one of his machines, and it'd come out 14% gold, or 13% gold, or 12% gold, 11% gold. He could do it, he said, with gold or silver, and he said he could do it with any, but he demonstrated with gold and silver, but he said he could do it with almost any element he needed. So literally, you can make elements. The ministry knows how to do this. We've been doing it for about 100 years. Not that it's cost effective yet. If it was, we wouldn't be needing to do a fundraiser. Right now, it's for gold and silver. It's not yet. It doesn't pay for itself yet. In other words, you operate at a loss still. But it is getting closer. It is something that the people are working on all the time in their spare time. And one of these days, we'll probably have a breakthrough on that, and it'll get more cost effective than ever.
Well,
transportation element, totally doable.
Yeah, and I can see that maybe evolving into any time you needed raw materials to work with, whether it be silver for circuit boards or any type of raw materials, metals, irons, things like this. You could basically create them and somewhat manifest them as you needed it.
Absolutely. From hydrogen and oxygen comes all other elements. Hydrogen and oxygen is easily born from any dominant energy magnetic field, and even normal magnetic fields produce a little bit. And those those two elements, you get all the others, including carbon and so on. It isn't like they taught you in school. A lot of the stuff they teach you in school is baloney.
Yeah.
Basically, when you start dealing with dominant energy, when it becomes common, and when we get the factory into mass production, then transmutation will be a lot more affordable, because the main machines you need are the quantum energy machines, and they will be able to be made cheaply. And so that will make the gold and silver production profitable also, instead of at a loss. So that's another thing to think about for people that are listening.
All right. Well, that's. I think. I really appreciate you taking the time to go through all that with me, because I think it's important for people to know that there are real solutions for practically every problem out there, and they're ready to be implemented. It's just we've got to change the minds of people, and we've got to just start working together to make it happen, because it's ready to happen. And I personally, I think it is about to happen. I think we're very, very close to some radical shifts in people's consciousness and people's awareness of these things, and people starting to help pull together to do these things. So I'm super psyched. And as we said, it's a different time these days than it was back in the 80s and the 90s, when there was so much suppression going on, and it was pretty dark and evil back then. That is lightening up, and that is going away. So we can implement these solutions and get things rolling the way they should be. So
Amen.
I appreciate you sticking with me. I think the audience is going to really like that. So
yeah, excellent. And so we'll go right into the question.